you all for this webinar on higher education in abroad. Knowledge can be gained in many ways. One of the ways is to study abroad. Studying abroad gives students an experience of a lifetime for students. It is an excellent opportunity to come into close contact with a distant culture in their day-to-day life and return home with plenty of cherished memory. A study abroad experience will benefit you in ways beyond your imaginations and expectations. It will offer you an opportunity to discover a unique, diversified culture, make lifelong friendships and connection, and receive an education that goes a long way in your holistic developments. Today, the session has been organized to highlight the benefits of studying abroad. I am elated to introduce the resource person of today's session, Engineer Jayanti Sri. Jayanti Sri Dharmaraj has completed her undergraduate in computer science and engineering, and we are very happy to say that she is our proud alumnus. She completed her system analyst internship at Infosys Mysore, then went on to pursue her PG certification in software engineering at University of Auckland and PG diploma in information technology at Eastern Institute of Technology, New Zealand. Has over 3 years of professional experience with focus on technology and education sector clients in India and Philippines. She worked for around 2 years at Scholar Technologies, a startup by a group of KCET alumnus, as business development analyst. She then worked with PwC Consulting Philippines for a year as technology consultant, overseeing the end-to-end development of web applications for National Stock Exchange and an intergovernmental organization. Currently a remote digital marketeer for her family business in India. We are very happy to have you here for our session, Jayanti Sri. Now I hand over the session to you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Jayanti Sri. So, I'm here to address the topic, as you know, higher studies in abroad. So, as I was told, like I know that everybody who are attending today are doing an undergraduation, and I think everybody has access to your chat, right? I would like to know how many of you are like really interested, who have already a vision in mind that you're going to go abroad and study, maybe immediately, maybe later. Can you just type in a message saying, yeah, so I've started getting the message. So I'll just wait for a minute for everyone. So yeah, hi. Yeah, so I received from Tirumalai Kumaran and others also. Maybe at the end of the session you will have more understanding on what to exactly expect and how you should choose your path, pave the way. So starting, why am I actually here? So I'll just start up a presentation. Yeah, so is everybody able to see my presentation? So initially, like why am I here? To talk specifically about higher studies. So I'll just tell you, like I studied in KCET. I was from the batch 2010 to 2014, and right now, looking back at that time, I wish someone had told me a lot about what I'm actually about to tell you now. So it would give me the right guidance and so much more what to expect. Like there are so many things out there you need to look out for when you are going to study abroad. So I will let you guys know the basic ones. So I actually made a few mistakes when I when I was planning to study about war, when I was preparing my competitive exam maybe. So I would let you guys know what mistakes I made, so that and how you could rectify them, so that you have an understanding. The whole session will be more of me sharing my personal so that you can get a better understanding of what it is like to start preparing for your studies abroad. So what would exactly be the agenda of the topic? So it would just be me talking about my journey, and also a few tips on how to start your planning, and when you should do it, or who you should actually go and consult. Is it really worth going and contacting an educational consultant and paying them to do the application process for you and all that? And even like how you can start from the very beginning so that you land in a good job abroad. So yeah, so I'll just let you know my journey. So as I said, I studied in Kamaraj College of Engineering Technology from 2010 to 2014. I did computer science and engineering. So by the third year, I was pretty sure, like I really wanted to do my education abroad, like my higher studies. But at that point, all I had was the dream. So I actually did not have any other guidance. So I started just browsing on the internet and doing all that. So what I did was, as everybody says, start preparing for your competitive exams. So there are four major competitive exams like GMAT, GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. So GMAT is when you want to do a MBA. So this is more like your MAT CAT exams that are accepted within India, and GMAT is accepted globally. A few actually universities in India have also started accepting GMAT because they actually take in students from abroad. So GMAT is for everyone who wants to go to do your MBA. And then there's GRE. GRE is more for your Master of Engineering and all those technical courses that you want to higher education. And TOEFL and IELTS are basically exams that actually test your English knowledge. So TOEFL is majorly accepted in the northern hemisphere, and IELTS in the southern hemisphere. But in the recent days, I think for 2 to 3 years now, IELTS is being globally accepted in most of the universities. In 2013, so I actually prepared for GMAT and TOEFL. So I was preparing. I went to Times Institution. Most of you would have heard such institutions all around the city that are popping, and they tell you how to prepare for your competitive exams. So I prepared for GMAT and TOEFL, but I actually ended up writing GMAT and IELTS. So like I was way off in my judgment. Like I wanted to do my MBA initially, and then later, after writing my GMAT exam, I realized that most of the prestigious universities only accept students after they have 2 years of work experience. And like I wasn't ready to have a work experience before. Like I just wanted to do my undergraduation and then go directly to my post graduation. So then I had to change my mind. I wrote my IELTS, but IELTS, since it's just English testing knowledge, so I actually got some good score in IELTS. And then I went into a consultancy. So the consultancy suggested that for my IELTS score and the CGPA that I had in my third year engineering exams, so it was very good that I will get into a university called University of Auckland. This University of Auckland is in New Zealand, and it's one among the top 1% of the university. That means like top within the top 100, this university was there. So I was very attracted to the glamorous, I can tell people like I'm going to study in one of the very prestigious university, and it's like in the top 1% of the university around the world. So I was very proud and everything. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and apply for this one. And I actually got into the university with my score and the marks that I had already got in my third year in undergraduation. Then came my 2014. We actually had a campus drive on campus in Kamaraj College. So Infosys came in, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. What is the harm in giving a try? So I went in. I got selected in Infosys as well. And then in 2014, we were asked to come in the final semester itself. Like we were during the final semester of our college, like we were actually in Mysore doing our internship. So but like even though I went into Infosys for internship, I was very sure that I'm still going to accept my college offer and just go ahead with my higher studies. So after the internship was over, like I did not like I quit from Infosys. I did not want to continue to the training and then placement there. which I think is a huge mistake actually. I will actually tell you guys why it was a mistake later. Um, so in 2014, then I went in to do my Master of Engineering Studies in Software Engineering in University of Auckland. So I actually studied for a year there. So we had four subjects each semester, and we were expected to at least pass 7 out of the 8 subjects. But the first semester was really well, it went on well, but I found it a little difficult in the second semester. You can see that when I went in, like, I felt very out of place, because everybody who had come from India, like I had at least 7 classmates who were from Tamil Nadu itself, but everybody was at least 5 years elder to me, everybody with rich experience in their own field. So they were all able to cope up with really well. Like I still had the knowledge, but I haven't had the experience of implementing my knowledge practically. So any assignment that was given to be completed in a week took me at least 2 weeks. So I had to put in extra effort and extra time into it. So by the end of 1 year, like I was supposed to have passed in 7 subjects, but I was able to complete only 6 subjects. So in that case, the university said that they could no longer pursue my masters. So I had to terminate, and the visa was terminated immediately from so I had to decide very immediately if I'm going to stay there and complete my um, degree with some other university, or I just need to take a quick decision on what is my next way going to be. So that is when I went into another consultancy in New Zealand. He helped me, saying that since I have already completed 6 subjects, they're actually very valuable, all the subjects that I had completed. So I was able to transfer my credits. So that's why you would have heard Sudha ma'am say that I completed my post graduation instead of like I actually went in to do my masters, but I did since I was able to complete only 6 subjects, I got that credit transferred and made it that I completed postgraduate certificate in engineering. But still, like this wasn't done immediately. So what I had to do was, like, I went into to New Zealand to study for 2 years. So 1 year is already completed. The next year, what I did was I joined into another institution. This institution is one of the best in New Zealand, but it does not have a worldwide recognition. But all the more, the education at both the university and the institution was very similar, and I gained a lot of knowledge. Also, so the next year it was very easy. Like I found actually which area was my passion, and I was able to complete the course in very good colors. So after I completed, then due to some personal reasons, like I had to come back to India. So the 2 years of my higher studies, like instead of getting one master's, I have 2 post-graduation certificates. Yeah, and because of the few mistakes that I made, it did cost me extra to complete 2 degrees. So, and after I came back, I was working as a business development analyst for a year and a half with a startup. The startup is actually by a set of KCET alumni. And then like I got married, and since my husband was already working in the Philippines, I moved to the Philippines. There in the Philippines, I was able to get into one of the big 4 company, that is PwC Consulting, and I have been working there for a year. And shortly we moved into Singapore because of my husband's job requirements. And now I'm currently a remote digital marketer. So I actually have a very wide work experience, but all the more my education has helped me a lot. Like Sudha ma'am has said, learning abroad will enrich your learning of other culture and all that. Moreover, I would say you will learn more about yourself, how much you are capable of. You will know at what extent you will be able to make big decisions and take one responsibility for it. So there's a lot more to studying abroad than just being, all glamorous and it looks all very nice when you post pictures on Instagram and everything. But there's so much learning into what happens. Like you learn to live on your own, and there's a lot more that's happening there. Yeah, so this is my journey. So now I will tell you guys, like this is mainly not known to a lot of people. So um, this is what I suggested to all my cousins and my brother who started, they who completed their undergrad and started their dreams of going abroad. So there are two ways how you can go and study abroad. One is the traditional way, how you actually just enroll into a abroad university, and then you process your visa and everything, crack your competitive exams, and then just go directly. But everybody knows that it's going to cost us a huge amount in the bank. There's another way how you can go and study abroad. This is becoming very common nowadays. A lot of colleges locally, like in India, they form a tie-up with abroad universities. So when a student joins for, like, let's say MBA in India, and for example, let's take PSG College. So PSG College provides MBA. So in that course, 1 year, the student will have to study here in Coimbatore, and the next year he can choose a variety of university that has been tied up to PSG. One example is the University of Toledo, that's in Ohio, USA. So the students can complete 1 year in Coimbatore and 1 year in Toledo, and they they get their certification of MBA from both the universities, like PSG and from University of Toledo. So if you see, basically, if you want to do your MBA abroad, you must for sure have 2 years basic, at least 2 years experience, work experience. And then it's going to cost you at least around 40 lakhs if you want to do it in Australia, Singapore, or even USA. It's going to cost you a basic amount of 40 lakh just on the college tuition fees, apart from the living cost. But if you are going to do it through the study exchange programs, it, like for example, the PSG, the tuition fee costs around, I think, 15 lakhs. So and then the rest of the living expenses, we will have to manage on our own. So it's going to be a vast difference, but you get nearly the same experience. um, so this is what I had suggested to my cousins and my brother, everyone. So one of my cousins, so he already followed the same. So he studied in PSG, and then he moved on to University of Toledo. And there are so many alumnus from KCET itself, from my own batch, who have done the same. So they are all now settled in USA, and they have good exposure, just as same as going studying abroad and paying a bond. So this is a very good another alternate way how you can reach your abroad dream. um, and it would be a lot more comfortable. Like the PSG University and University of Toledo will already be tied up, the visa processing and everything will be a lot more easier. So yeah, so this is on how you can, the two ways how you can actually enroll into universities. So how to plan your higher studies? So like I actually have around 30 people in the webinar right now. So at least one of you would have thought, like, at this point when you are not even allowed to travel away from your state, who is going to allow me to travel abroad and study? What is the scope, you would think, right? It actually is a bad time, if you ask me. If you are planning right this year, it's a seriously, a lot of people have been stuck, and they don't know what is actually, they would have already got their offer letters, but they are not sure what is actually going to happen, because doesn't look, the universities doesn't look like they're going to open up in the September. So but since all of you are actually studying in college right now, and I suggest, I highly advise you to at least gain 2 more years of work experience, and then start and like actually start looking for your universities already. But you definitely need at least 2 years of work experience. So if you start planning right now, this dream, you're going to start chasing it when in 3 more years. In 3 more years, I'm sure all the virus situation around the world is going to come back to normal, and it's going to be as great as ever. So it's never too late and never too early to start. So so I would say, like, start your find out which sorry, find out which is your passion. Like me, first when I joined my software engineering course, I found it really hard. That's when I realized I'm not actually made for the coding. So when I shifted from software engineering to information technology, it was such a boon. And even in my workplace, I was able to do a lot of stuff and learn a lot more with passion. So I would say the best thing is explore what you really like. So that is going to give you like, you will never feel like you're learning. So it will all be a enjoyable process. Like if your college is going to be so much more fun if you like what you're learning, so it's going to be a great. And also the job and everything from then onwards will be so much more enjoyable. So I say start planning. If you are very focused, like you're sure that you're going to go for a higher study, start planning your thing. 3 years is what you need for a very awesome plan. So the passion, like, so start exploring which is your favorite and which you would find so much liking and all that. Find your passion. Yeah, do a lot of research with what you like. And another thing is do tons of research. Like I would advise, like to my brother, I actually told him, do homework like every day. Make sure you open the laptop and start keep researching, like keep typing in any query and understand about all the countries, the visa requirements, whether you will be able to stay back after the college for work visa, because there are so many countries. Like until last year, UK did not allow people to have a work visa. Like you can go there and study, but you have to come back. You are never allowed to stay back to look for a job, UK. But now they have changed the thing. They actually want skilled migrants. So if you go in for a skilled university, like for information or maybe automobile, you are welcome to stay back to search for a job and settle there. So start researching. So find out which country would be very pleasing to you. So find out all the pros and cons of all the countries, maybe. And then the next step is to shortlist your college. Like I made the mistake of going and doing the competitive exam first and then choosing my college, but it works the other way around. Make sure you shortlist your college, like at least 5 to 8 college, and which course you're going to do. So you can find everything, anything and everything on the internet right now. You will also be able to know what are the courses that you're going to learn. So if you look at the courses, you should be able to at least let's say, yeah, I know 50% of this stuff. That's when you will be able to cope up, because you're going to a new country where everything will be new. And if you're what you're going to study is also going to be completely new, you will find it really hard. So I say, like, at least make sure you know at least like you've gone through all the syllabus and everything of what you're like. Make sure you expect what's going to be there. And then like when you have shortlisted the universities, like 5 to 8 colleges, you will know what are the competitive exams that are required to join that university. Like let's say a few colleges, they accept only TOEFL, and majority of them accept IELTS as the English standard language exam. So you will know which one to take. So after shortlisting your college, then find out which are the competitive exams that are required and what score they require for you to be admitted in. So yeah, after that you can start preparing for your competitive exams. I say make sure you go to any class like the Times Institution, and there are a lot of institutions around the city nowadays that actually give you quite a good knowledge. So it's actually easy to crack those exams if you attend classes and put in your full effort. But at least you need like 6 months of learning time for that before you take up your exam. The IELTS and TOEFL will be quite easy, obviously, because it's just testing your English knowledge. But if you go for GMAT is really tough. You will need a minimum of 6 months of learning before you can crack the exam with good marks. Yeah. So come on, let's go to the next slide. So this is about the education consultancies. So this is really an important thing. A lot of people may not know. So what I suggest is, initially, after you have shortlisted your 5 to 8 university or institutions, go to educational expos and fairs. So these are conducted mostly in big cities like Coimbatore, Chennai, Madurai. So they usually conduct such expos. Keep an eye out and make sure you go in and personally attend such expos. Why I'm saying is that in such expos, many universities, like they will send down their representatives and you will be able to get their brochures. So when you are able to find out which are the universities in there, there will also be educational consultancies who are tied up with their those universities. So after you have shortlisted the university that you want, you will be able to easily find out which educational consultant actually is tied up with that university to send you in easily. So if the agency or the educational consultant has a tie up with the university, they will be able to do the application process very smoothly. So basically, usually what happens is that if you are paying 35 lakhs for your 2-year master's course, most of the colleges will provide a commission to the educational consultancy of 10%. So you, like, if it's 35 lakhs, it's going to be 3.5 lakhs paid to the educational consultant. So now, if you go to the educational consultant without having a set of colleges in mind, what might happen is that the educational consultant will push you towards the college that has more commission for him. So this may happen. So we need to be like really careful in where which college you choose according to your comfort, according to your knowledge, and which course that you want. Make sure you do a lot of research even when the education consultant gives you a lot of advice. They might try and sell you for one particular university. Make sure you do a lot of your own personal research before you accept and move forward with the application. So that is one thing that we will have to like keep a look forward, like make sure that they're not forcing us into an university that would give them more advantage. So that is the thing, like make sure shortlist your university, then go to an educational expo, and you will know which consultant is actually tied up with which university, and in that process you will have more control over what you are choosing and what you're paying for. So this is the thing about education consultancy. um, yeah, about the competitive exams, I actually told you most of it. So once you've already shortlisted the courses, it's very easy to know which exam is right. And once you know which exam is right, you start preparing and crack the exam with the required amount of score. Yeah. So another thing is what type of like how I keep on telling you research, right? There are few actual global websites that you can follow. So they have keep updated news of what the university is about, and comparing multiple university on a global ranking. So these are the two universities, like it will be good if you can make a note of it. So this helped me a lot, like even for my own research, and I also help my brother and everyone to find out the right university. So you can keep comparing different courses, the same course from different university, and how big is the university, and how, do they have a campus, or what are the job opportunities, and everything will be listed in such websites. So it will give you a basis on which you can compare. Yeah. So the topuniversity.com is for all the universities. I think it includes MBA as well. The second one is Pagal Guy. It's mainly just for MBA. So this, how to land a job. So as soon as you have applied for a college and you're yet waiting to join the college, I say it is a high time that you start your networking, find the right people. Like there might be a Tamil professor in a Singapore college who is like very willing to take in and mentor people. Like for example, I will tell you, in my set itself, I'm not mentioning the name, there was my friend in KCET, my own set. So he when we completed the 4 years, so he actually had 13 arrears. So over the year of 2 to 3 years, he completed all his arrears. And after that, he joined an institution called LM Tarpar Engineering College in Punjab. So he did his MBA there for 1 year, and for the next year, he went to University of Malta in Europe. So he completed his MBA there, and he was able to connect with another Tamil professor. I'm not just telling it's Tamil, but if you connect well with another person, if it's a professor, or it could be your alumni in that college or anyone you know, the professor gave him a huge opportunity of able to do his PhD in Liverpool, in UK. So he has a very good offer in his hand right now, because he was good at networking, and he was able to pitch his proposals and ideas to the right people. So that is one thing. So I would say, like, as soon as you have applied for a college and are even waiting for the admission offer letter, it's a high time that you start networking with people. Find on Facebook, go there will usually be communities for each college, or like Indians in New Zealand, there will be communities on Facebook. So go on the communities, just pop up a random question about the university, about job. There'll be a lot of people waiting to help, but just make sure there's no scammers available, because it's online. Just make sure you know the right people and start building the network very early. So also another thing is that part-time jobs and living expenses. So as we know, the college tuition fee itself is going to be really high, and it will be really great if you can manage the living expenses cost at least with your own part-time job money. So there are a few countries, like in New Zealand, they actually allowed a part-time. So any person on a student visa can work for at least 20 hours a week. And then we can use the money for our own living costs there. But in other countries, like this is where the research will play a lot of part. In other countries like Singapore, you're not actually allowed to work on your student visa. So like it's better to choose wisely which one would help. In New Zealand, what was the advantage is that the part-time jobs already had a minimum wage. So it's not like you're going to get very paid. The 1 hour you spend in job will actually go a long way. So make sure you research on all the opportunities that are available. There are so many groups and discussion portals on Facebook, on a lot of places, Quora maybe. Yeah, keep browsing and asking questions wherever you can, so that you gain a lot more knowledge. So yeah, and another great thing is apply for internships. So as soon as you do your if you're going in for a 1-year course or a 2-year course, just remember the last semester, make sure you start applying for internships or graduate programs. So internship or graduate program is a very easy way to get into many high profile, like MNCs, maybe Microsoft, Coca-Cola. Like my cousin, she actually was got into the graduate program in Coca-Cola in Coimbatore. She completed her MBA in Sri Krishna College. So the thing is, start early, start applying for internships already when you are in your final year. So internship and graduate programs will make your way into big companies, like big name companies. So the more higher studies like this is more like there are two examples, like my husband. So he actually enrolled for college directly. So he did not go in a study exchange program. So he enrolled directly in a college. I'm not sure many of you, like when you think abroad, you would think of countries like UK, Australia, maybe Europe. So everybody thinks of like those big name countries. But make sure you do your research and expand your search on a lot of countries. So he actually applied for a college in Philippines. The institution is called Asian Institute of Management. So before my husband mentioned, I haven't even heard about the university, but that university is actually a part of Harvard's university in Southeast Asia. Like if Harvard is there for the Western world, Asian Institute of Technology was a part of Harvard for the Southeast Asian countries. So if you know the current CEO of Flipkart, he actually studied in Philippines. So what I say is like this: don't go for the mundane countries or the courses or the university that your friends go to. Do a lot of research, and there are like millions of opportunities that you can actually go to. So my husband actually he completed his MBA, and he through the internship program he was able to land a job in Microsoft. So otherwise, if you are just trying to, even though you have a lot of years of experience and you try to directly apply with such big companies like maybe Google or Facebook, you have a very competitive world out there, and find it really hard to land jobs if without. But through internship or a graduate program, it's very easy to get into such companies. Yeah, and another experience is from my cousin. So she did her BBA in Lady Doak College, Madurai. So while she was doing her BBA, the college had a tie-up with Mary Baldwin University in Virginia, USA. So she was able to go there for a 6-month course. So she did, I think in 3 years, she did most of the time in Madurai, and only 6 months she completed her BBA in Mary Baldwin University. So that was actually a huge experience for her, and it did not cost so much money as you would have expected. It's just so she gained so much cultural value, so much knowledge. So I suggest keep doing a lot of research. Like we have a lot of universities around us that actually have tie-ups with abroad university and all that. So keep doing your research, and yeah, you can. There's so many options. Yeah, you can keep researching and going along that way. Yeah. So I'm actually done with most of my thing. You can type in your questions, or also unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have in mind. We can have around like 10 minutes for the questions. Yeah, Mr. Tirumalai Kumar, I think you have a question. Can you please unmute yourself and let me know what it is? Yeah, sure. So I wasn't as a data analyst, so I was a business development analyst. So the thing is, like, I had to go around since it was a startup. So we were actually doing our most of the work in education sector. So I had to go around schools and colleges. I had a good opportunity in interacting with the principals and school staff, where we had to just collect data and what are their requirements would be from, and what they're expecting from our application that we are going to create. So this is a basic if you are in a startup. The same experience that I had with PwC Philippines is that we had very high profile clients like the National Stock Exchange and also an intergovernmental organization. So these are all very big organizations. So we had to like they already had a requirement of what application they want. So my main thing was I had to go directly to the clients and make sure and they understand what, like, they will be able to tell you in a story format, and I had to make it into a technical diagram so that the developers can understand. So we had outsourced the developing in India, and most of the data gathering was done by me. So I was actually a business development analyst. Yeah, let me know if this answered your question, Tirumalai Kumar. Yeah, okay. So if there's anyone else, you can just let us know. Or yeah, okay. I think most of you guys are actually done. Yeah, and also I will provide my email address. So if you like have any other doubts that come along the way, you can email me anytime, and I will be happy to reply. So I'll just type in my email address here. Please make a note of it for any other queries that you would like to ask. Yeah. So I think most of us are done here.
Thank you, Jayanti Shri. Thanks a lot for sparing your valuable time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now I request Vijay Lalita ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
Morning to one and all present here. First of all, I would like to thank our speaker, Engineer Jayanti Sri, for her acceptance. Thank you, ma'am. She has clearly guided us how to choose our path, how to plan for higher studies, and also she has shared her experience with educational consultancies, things to know about competitive exams, how to do research on studies, and how to choose for future university and course. Thank you, ma'am. And I would like to thank our management, principal sir, head of the department, and the coordinator of the event, Sudha ma'am, and all the faculty members of the department. Thank you all. And finally, I would like to thank all the participants for this event. Thank you so much.